Hello everybody, welcome back to another stream. Today we're kind of not really doing something different, but we kind of are at the same time. As you saw in the thumbnail, I'm going to be learning how to draw hair, right? But instead of just doing a normal practice, right? Something happened recently that is actually pretty exciting. Give me 1 second. Here is this one. So, a pretty long time ago, to be honest, a long time ago, I applied for this job as an art director, right? I thought I had the skills, but I did not land the job, which is literally so okay. You know what I mean? That is literally fine, right? And then a couple days ago, it was for an indie game, right? It was for an indie game. And then a couple days ago, their channel, they released the trailer for the game, and it looks like actually like really good. Like it actually looks really fun. So I was like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing, right? Like I'm so happy that I'm actually able to see, them getting closer to the realization of their game. That's just so amazing, right? So then I left a comment and I was like, this is awesome. I'm so happy that like you guys are like really, pushing towards, having a game out. Like that's such a big accomplishment, right? Because so many people worked so hard and put so much time into it. I'm just very happy for you guys, right? And then they replied to my comment and they were saying like, hey CJ, it's so awesome that you kept up with the game, you know what I mean? Kept up with the following. That's so awesome to see. And when I applied for the game, when I applied for the art director job, I was just so inspired by the game. I was so inspired by the art direction of the game, and I was so inspired by the potential of the game. So there is this character that they have, and her name is Tyrannel, and this is the fan art that I made for her. I don't remember when I did this, to be honest. I can't really put my finger upon it, but I know it was not last year. I think it was a year old. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not showing my screen. This is the fan art that I did. Her name is Tyrannel, and this is her older design. But yeah, I really liked a pretty key aspect of this character's design. Can you guys hear me? I accidentally like destroyed my microphone. Like I hit my microphone, like plugged the cable. I hope you can hear me. I see the little audio thing going up and down. But anyways, so this is Tyrannel. Oh, let me let me fix the lighting so that you guys can see me better. So this is Tyrannel. I mean, her design is pretty sick, to be honest. And I really liked her design. One of my favorite parts of her design was how long her hair was. I love long hair on characters. I think it's so much fun. I think it's so cool. So I definitely wanted to draw her. And at the time, I was really happy with how this came out. You know what I mean? I thought I did pretty good, but looking back at it now, there's definitely some like, what were you thinking? You know what I mean? Because this arm is minuscule. This hand is a weird hand, I'm not gonna lie. And these pants look like they just don't, period. They look like they just don't, you know what I mean? And these feet, these minuscule feet, like the proportions are just like out the door, you know what I mean? And the shading is so like nuanced or nonchalant. I don't even know what word I can use to describe it. And the hair is like so big on her face, and it makes her head look so massive. So, and like these little curl here, like what is this? Like that's so weird. That's so strange. And this fire being like the like I guess this fire is okay, right? But still, I was not digging it. I'm not digging it right now. And they gave her character a new design, and I was like, this design slaps. And going back to the story, I left a comment on their video game trailer, and they were like, "Hey, it's so amazing to see you having, continued following us and supporting us and stuff. And we were wondering if you still have the Tyrannel fan art piece because I sent it to them and they really liked it, and that made me really happy." So I was like, and because they said, do you have this, oh, I'm sorry, I'm like kind of butchering the story, but I made this fan art, I sent it to them, and they really liked it. And they replied to my comments saying, "Hey, it's so awesome that you've been keeping up with the following, and we wanted to ask if you have the Tyrannel fan art piece that you did, because we would love to have it again because we lost it when our old Discord server went down." So I was like, yeah, I'll email it to you. And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I want to redo this fan art piece. You know what I'm saying? So I am. And this is the new sketch that I have. Ooh! She looks pretty cool. I just did this right before I started stream. That's why I started the stream a little bit later. But I am a big fan of how it came out. I have my references here. I have this new design that they gave her, which looks sick, to be honest. I love the boots. The boots are so much fun. Yeah, I love the boots. And I have this main pose reference here. I love it. I just got it from Pinterest. I like how the arms, like... Let me get my pen. I really like how the arms lead your eyes straight to the face. And it really brings like the attention to the face. And then also like the way the legs are bent, it brings all the attention to the face, and that is amazing. And this face is in like a dynamic perspective, like that's so cool. And I thought it would just be like the perfect opportunity to give this character like a lot of hair. Like that's awesome, you know what I mean? And I'm also doing this to learn hair as well. And I have this drawing from Ross Dross. It's kind of like a similar pose. But I like his hair. I always found his hair to be like so like nice to look at. So, and I really like the lighting in his drawing. So this is more for like a stylistic inspiration. And then here I have some hair references. This one's very long and straight. And this one, I really like the shapes of the hair. I think that's so cool. And like the lighting, those highlights, very shiny hair. I love it. It's so cool. And then I have another one here. Very cool leading lines as well. And then nice curls here in the bottom. And also how like the highlight and how shiny the hair is. I just really like it. So those are the references that I am using. I'm using these two main references, but let me actually minimize it so that I can see all of them. So this is the fan art that I did. I'm really happy with the sketch of how it came out. So I'm going to this is actually I cut out the sketch and put it on a white so that when I am drawing it can still stay separate from the background. So let's just get into it, to be honest. I think I should actually have this one here. Let me just select this really quick. So that I can have it with me, so I can just see the design at all times while also seeing the hair references that I have here. And then let me paste it into here. She'll be in the corner. Okay, so she has like a tan skin, which is awesome. So I'll draw on top of the sketch layer. Let me get that tan skin color. Oh wow, that's awesome. Wow, that looks pretty good. I like how saturated it is, to be honest. Maybe we can make it a little bit more saturated. Yeah, with the pink, amazing. So let's start with the face right here. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna use the selection tool so that it can be really clean. I know previously I said that I don't really like using the selection tool as much because I like physically painting it in. But in my previous character art that I did for my character Noah Aldrich, I used the selection brush a lot, especially because this new painting style that I'm doing recently. The process can get pretty messy with like painting over and stuff like that. So I wanted to use the selection brush to keep everything clean, and I think it kept things clean pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm just going to do the same thing as I did, just to keep all the corners nice and tight. Okay, that's pretty much all the skin selected, and I'll just use a round brush. Awesome. That is a very nice, rich color. I love it a lot. And then I'll do her top next, and I'll save the hair for last because I feel like that's really gonna be like where the main impact is. Oops. Let me do her boots first, actually. You're gonna use the polygon lasso tool so I can get really nice sharp edges. Get those nice wrinkles in. I always love it when characters, well, like mainly female characters, because those are the only characters that have like thigh-high boots. But I like it a lot when the artist puts in like the detail, the folds within the creases of like behind the knee and where the ankle is. I think it just looks so like, wow, it has that extra touch, that extra finish to it that feels so like pleasant to look at, like so appealing to look at. So I definitely want to include that in mine. And then her pants, her boots have this slit in them. It's pretty cool. And then I'll draw the other one. This one will most likely be curving downward like that. And even though the top and the boots are the same color, I'll put it in different selections so that I don't get confused when I'm painting it out, like painting out the values and stuff. So let's just select these boots here, finish up this selection, and then deselect this area. Alright, awesome. And then I'm pretty sure, or actually, well, what color are they? They're like a more grayish. They're not completely black. Yeah, they're like that color. but I'm going to make the back one actually completely black. Yeah. So that there can be that graphic distinction between the front leg and the back leg. Perfect. Yeah. Awesome. Oops, there we go. And then here in the front leg, I'll make it more softer, that softer charcoal color. Oopsies. I'm going to use the round brush for this one so that I can create like shadows easily, like already start placing in some shadows. Let me see the reference here that I'm also going to be using as like the lighting guide, because I want to just focus on the hair of the piece, not so much the lighting. I can save that for like another study. Awesome. That's looking pretty sick. Let me grab this highlight color. Amazing! It's looking cool. Let me add it to like the brim, so it has that nice little cut. Let me add some in the folds here. And here. Maybe like on the edge. I think that'll be pretty fun. Have like a little bit of a rim light moment, and then have that nice detail. We have this highlight here. From the heel, have it a little bit brighter there, and we have some highlights here from the ankle and some from just the anatomy of the foot here. Let me not be so sketchy with these lines. Color again. Let me do like a different color for the sole of the feet. Actually, I feel like it would be like all of this if it was the under part of the foot until that part. Like that. Yeah, that seems about right. Accurate. And I have some. There we go. What if I made the under part of the shoe like a cyan color, like her hair? Oh, that's pretty cool. That's pretty sick. I'm gonna do that, definitely. Wait, let me cool it down, actually, on the pressure that I'm putting so that it's not so saturated. Let me... Okay, let me color it out. And then I'll put like this highlight that is here. Maybe I'll make it a little bit more saturated so that you can notice the difference more. And then I'll have it less saturated near the edge here. And then like an underline here. Maybe instead of actually drawing it in, I can just do like an airbrush under it, like this. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Let me get like some really dark shadows here. Let me do it over top of it so that I'm not limited to the shape of the sketch underneath, because I was doing that in a clipping layer. So let's add some outlined lines. Oh, she does have colored heels, but it's not cyan, it's pink. Oops. Maybe I can... Cyan. Okay, awesome. I can just get that cyan color. Okay, it's like a magenta type pink. Okay. Oops. Okay, I think it has to be a little bit more saturated, like towards the red side. And bring the saturation up a little bit so it's more noticeable. Yeah, that's cool. Let me go back to this outline that I was doing. Let me make sure that it's nice and crisp. Awesome, and it looks sick. And let me do it on this side too. I'm just filling in these areas so that you don't really see the sketch underneath it so much. Oh, actually, I'll do that with this upper layer. To have it really nice and cut clean. Looks good. I think this is going down way too soon. There, that's fine. That's better. Right, looking good, looking good. Let's add some shading here. Let me select the color range. Okay. Yeah, that's selected pretty good. There, that's better. And let me deselect here. This is where the torso is. I don't want to be coloring or shading the torso. Let me cut this out as well, since that's the fabric of the pants. And let me cut out here, since I'm not reaching to that part yet. And that part would be obviously pretty dark. So let me get like an airbrush. Like a darker pink. Awesome. Looks pretty sick. Put that part a lot darker, Obi. Awesome, awesome. And let me get a round brush and do like a little bit of rim light. Sick. And let me do like a shading that is cast from the boot. Looking good. And I'll add like a highlight that is coming from that same side. Ooh, pretty awesome. I'll have it continue going down, and I'll have a little bit more glow to it. All right, looking good. And then I'll do the pantalones, or the skirt. Oh, I have the design here. It's okay. Yeah, let's do the skirt, since we're already here pretty much. Oh, actually, this part is also her skin, because she has like a crop top on, and like the belt will most likely be coming like there. Oopsies. There. Yeah. And then I'll just put like a very, very subtle light to differentiate that. Now start adding, oopsies, the band, the waistband. Which is about the same color, so I'll just do it black, and I'll add a little bit of dimension. Right there. I think I'm gonna give her some shorts. Because I'm not really liking how revealing her outfit is. It's making me a little bit uncomfortable, not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. And I'll make it the same color as well. We get some black for those darker crevices. Yeah, that's a lot better. I feel a lot more comfortable now because I was like a little crazy. I was a little cray. And let me right here. And where would it go? Where would that piece of fabric go? Oh, I think in the sketch I just had it like tucked behind her, because I didn't want it to distract from where the hair was. And this part is pretty bright, like it's a off-white color, like a cream. Yeah, it's about right. Oh, let me deselect the arm. So that I know where the arm is. Well, actually, I'll just leave it. I'll just paint around it. Okay. And I'll just deselect it roughly. Okay, and how is the shading going to look? So, what color would it be anyways? I think I would want it to be like a deeper orange, but a bit more desaturated. And then it will have the shadow of the arm like that, and then a little bit of the thickness of the material like that. And let's indicate some folds. Some lighter folds up here. This is just to really indicate where the lighting situation is going to be, like a rough sketch of the lighting situation, so it's not going to be like 100% accurate to how the lighting is, but just to have it there to guide me. It's looking too much like hair. I think the folds are too much. I think I put too much folds. Okay, I think this is looking better. That part would be catching some light most likely. Okay, I think I'll just leave it like that for now. And I'll come back to it. And let's just do the top now that we're here. I'll do it like slightly a different color. Let me get the harder brush, and then I'll go under it. And I'll have some highlight. Maybe a little bit of rim light. No rim light, doesn't make any sense. I think that's honestly fine how it is. Let's just get a darker shadow in there. Alright, that's good. Maybe some underneath, just to indicate the form. Yeah, that's good. And let me make this part a little bit darker. This thigh a little bit darker. There we go. Just to have more depth. And there's like a purple band. Are you gonna even see that? I don't even think you're gonna see that, to be honest. I think you're just gonna see. Let's do the sleeves now. Let me hide that layer so that I can do the sleeves. Okay, looking good. Looking good. And to be honest, these hands I think are going to be just a little ratchet. Okay, I think that's fine. I don't think people are going to be focusing so much on the hands. That's looking good. And then I'll get this shadow layer, but I'll make it a little bit darker since actually I don't think the shadow will be that saturated, to be honest. I think that's I don't know, they have it here like as a purpley shadow, but I think I want to go with a little bit of a warmer approach, because that looks like it's taking in the nighttime. I think I'll do this color for now, and then I'll go over it again, and I'll do like a more desaturated, more bluer type of shadow underneath it, so that it can have that moody look that they achieved really well. And then I'll do a little bit more of a shadow there to indicate a tricep, and then put some shadow down here. But also I want to make it brighter because she's gonna have like some fire coming out from it. So I'm gonna do some of that basic shading that I was doing, but I'm gonna go over it again and have like that combustion of like bright flame. And I'm gonna have like a very bright yellow. Cool. Okay. I think now I'm gonna do the hair, because that's pretty much like the only thing that I have to do, really. Okay, looks pretty good, looks pretty good. I think now I'm going to do the background. Or actually, no. Let me just do the hair before I do the background. Let me use the lasso tool that I've been using. To make sure that it's really nice and clean and sharp. Okay, looking pretty good. Let me get this side of the hair. Let me deselect the excess. And right there. And select this. Let me just deselect the hand from here. I'll go over the hand again. So I'm not going to worry so much about keeping the formation of the hand, because that's most likely like the last thing that I'll do, because of the fire that I plan for it to come out. I want to have the rest of the illustration done so I can just paint the fire on top and not worry about how the shapes would look underneath, or how the form would look underneath. Do that, and then I can just select this pretty much. Oh, almost forgot to select this part of the hair as well. That it has those nice sharp edges. Okay, I think that's good. If anything, I can just go over this edge again with a line art layer to make sure everything stays nice and clean. That part is not the hair, this part is. Just try and stay as close to the edge as I can. Select this part. Okay. And select this part. And I think that's all the hair. And then I'll just go in and paint bucket it. I want it to be like a nice, vibrant cyan to really stand out. That's crazy. Yeah, I like that, to be honest. I think it actually has to be a little bit darker, given how dark her skin is, like her skin being a little dark. And then I'll go over it again and I'll define it more and I'll add those really, really nice highlights. Like mainly around here. Let me deselect this part since that's the shadow, and then I'll put like I'll use an airbrush and I'll get like that really bright cyan. Oh, it sucks because cyan doesn't really have a lot of options. I think that's what that will have to do, to be honest. Okay, and then we get like a round brush instead. Okay, I think that's good. I'm gonna turn the saturation down a little bit. Shift Cool Play says, caught this stream right now when I was going through music to draw. Hello again. Hello, I'm doing a fan art piece of a character from an indie game that is coming out soon. So that's pretty exciting. I'm gonna use my softer brush. Let me get the hair references out now, since that's really the part that I'm going to be focusing on now. Let me get like, what should be the shadow color? I think maybe like a blue, maybe. Let me select the hair again, or actually I can just color range. What? Bro. Okay, whatever. It said, Shitko Play says, I do wonder if you were able to watch through a bit of Jujutsu Kaisen and maybe even the movie when you had the chance, even with the initial impressions. No pressure though. I haven't actually. It's been a pretty busy week for me, so I haven't really had a lot of time to just sit down and like watch something in my free time. But yeah, that's kind of what I have to say, to be honest. Sorry that I haven't watched it. Sorry, I'm like kind of locking in with this selection to make sure that it stays nice and clean. Maybe I should have done this back part of the hair first, but I'm not gonna stress about it. Shift Go Play says, I will say though, they just recently put out episode 4 of season 3 and I've already seen a meme of it. That's pretty fun. That's fun. I'm happy that you're enjoying it. Sounds like a good time. Sounds like a good time. Okay. And let me select this part as well. Alrighty then. Let me get that deeper blue tone that I'm going to use for the shadows. Ooh, that looks nice. Looks quite nice indeed. Let me get a adjustment layer so I can see this in black and white to make sure that everything is good. Layer. New adjustment layer, here saturation. It's only in the hair. Because I have the selection. That's annoying. Because I don't want to redo the selection. Oh well, I'll just have to trust my gut. Okay, so we're gonna have shadows. Let me use the round brush actually to lay out the basics of the shadows. Let me get the underside of the hair here. All right, looking pretty good, looking pretty good. I'm gonna keep in mind to stay with the big graphic shapes so that I don't get lost in the strands and how the shadows are separated into the strands, because I think that's really where I start lacking with my hair art, with the part of the character. So I'm gonna stay with these big shapes. Let me get this shadow color, and there's like a crease there because that's like the part of her hair. Actually, it would be more like this instead. Yeah. Let me give it a little bit more curve to it, and then let me add some shading here. This part will be a little bit darker, to be honest. Looking pretty okay for right now. Let me get a highlight. Let me highlight this part. Add a highlight to this, the part of her hair. Okay. And then you need to deselect this part so I can have like a nice sharp. And then I'll use an airbrush actually to define the shadows right like a swoop right here. And another one like right there. This is really dark. I'm gonna do another one. Let me do it with this brush. Like that. Let me connect this side. And then this swoop of the hair coming out from right there. Maybe there's like more swoops coming out like that. These are some fun lines. Would be a line of highlight coming up here. And then a highlight here. Okay, let me color this in. These highlights, these shadows are a little bit too strong for my liking. Actually, I don't like how that's looking, to be honest. Let me just deselect. I think the selection and me wanting to keep the selection is messing me up, to be honest. Bro, I just don't even know, like, where would I start with this hair? Let me continue with making large shadow shapes. That's looking good. Okay, I think that's looking better. Graphic shadow shapes. Maybe there's like a shadow coming up from that side because hair is being covered. And that part is gonna have a shadow as well. Oops, I forgot that I have hair coming up from under her arm as well. Like that as well, yeah. Okay, I think I'm gonna, let me get this color as well and just color this part of the painting so that's not just that blaring white, so I can just have all the local colors in already. And this as well. Okay, I think I can remove this reference now. Okay, and not going to paint that part in just yet. Or maybe I will. Actually, no, I won't, because that's part of the fire that I want to do later on. Shift Go Play says, if you don't mind, I might yap a bit about Jujutsu Kaisen today, but I'm still going to be a kaiju and mecha enjoyer. Me personally, one of my favorite abilities in the show is Raito technique from Kento Nanami. To be honest, I don't really know what that means, but I mean, you can talk about it. I'll be fine with it. Let me start working on the background. Maybe I'll do like it's glowing a little bit. That'll be pretty cool. Maybe a green color? No, I don't like the green color. Maybe just this color, to be honest. Or maybe like the cyan color, but like more desaturated. Yeah, it has a really nice glow. And then I'm gonna do like this, but maybe like an orange. Let me see the character actually. Yeah, I think an orange would be good to have that, like a deep orange. That's cool. Shift Go Play says the Raito technique is that the user divides a line divided in 10 points to their target. If he hits the 7-3 ratio point in the line, the attack is a critical hit with barely any expectations. Oh, that's cool. That is interesting, actually. That is pretty unique. That sounds pretty cool, to be honest. Okay, let me select this. Select this, because I was using these as a composition sketch, more sketching out how the composition will be for the background. But I pretty much have it already and I don't really need it anymore. Let me remove that. Pretty fun indeed. And I think maybe some grass. I like the grass actually. Like shadow. Very dramatic. Nice. We can have some leaves in the background from this color. Okay, I think we're kind kind of getting somewhere. I think for now though, I'll hide it and just focus on the black background. I think that'll help me focus a lot more. Let me return back to here. Okay, I think I'm getting somewhere with the hair now. Pretty good. Oh, let me deselect the fire there. I don't want to paint on top of that. Shift Go Play says, what I said here is one of many new abilities, many unique abilities in Jujutsu Kaisen, and they can range from any concept really, other than negative or cursed things. Gojo's limitless techniques, the reason for being iconic. I mean, I honestly might give it a watch because of the iconic powers. I think that's really cool. It's also a big inspiration for my thingy that I'm doing. What are you doing? I would like to know. I would like to know your thingy that you're doing. That seems pretty cool. There, yeah. Let me erase some of this. This is a weird shape. That's fine. Good. I could do that in the outline layer actually. Okay. Alright. So at least the colors look nice. That's good. I think I'm gonna do the shading of the skin. I know that I'm confident in that, and I have a really good reference for that, so I'm gonna focus on that instead. And I already have a guide in the sketch. The thingy that Shipko Plays is doing is a project based on Armored Core and Godzilla, although you're not exactly sure if you can implement a good power system. You do have some really interesting concepts for some powers. Oh, well, I mean, that could honestly, yeah, it is pretty hard doing an interesting power, to be honest, because there's so many out there already, and I know you don't want to seem like you're just copying. But what I found that is really useful, like an actual useful piece of advice that I can give, is that most of the time it's you don't really have to worry about originality about a concept that you're doing. It's more how you present that concept that makes it original. You know what I mean? Because honestly, there's really no such thing as as originality now, because there's just so much out there. So as much as someone may think something is completely original, somebody else may be like, actually, this is a lot similar to this one thing, right? So I wouldn't really put in mind to worry about originality. But for an example as to what I said, um, I don't want to sound like I'm coming off as like I'm a super original person, you know what I mean? But I have this superhero that he has super speed, and the way he has his super speed is building up momentum through kinetic energy, and the more momentum he has, the more kinetic energy he has, the more faster he can go. And there's like a whole bunch of other powers that he can use through that. So it's not just start running, you go super fast, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying that that's such a super original idea. As I said, you know, there's really no such thing as a super original idea. But you know, something like that, where you're taking a concept and you're just switching it around a little bit based off of how you want to see that concept being played out, you know? So that's really what advice I would give in your power system. But I would like to hear the powers that you have already, because you said that you had some interesting ones, and I would like to see what interesting ones you have, because I think it'll be pretty interesting to know. Okay. And make this. Let me start putting in that shading of the face. Let me start outlining the eyebrows. Outline the eyes as well. And then the curve of the eyelid. Looking good, looking good. Let me add a little bit of shading from that part of the eye that's being covered by the hair. Cool, cool. Let me remove the sketch lines from there. I don't want to be able to see the sketch lines. Dun, 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 dun. The shadows I'm doing on this side of the face are really, really subtle because this side of the face will be catching the most light. So I don't want to make the shadows super crazy. Some intense eyes though. It's pretty cool. Okay. Yeah, that part. Let's start doing the lips now. Shift Go Play says an example of a power that you have is information censoring, although you might rename it. It applies not only to the identity of the user, but how he utilizes it. Might put a second comment for explanation. That sounds really cool. So I'm guessing it's like blocking out information within someone's mind, so it's like a telepathic attack kind of. That sounds really cool and really interesting to see how it would play out in like certain scenarios. Really cool shift. Really cool. Okay. Oopsies. Actually, yeah, I was right. That is the shadow of what's happening. Good. Looking pretty clean. Okay, looking pretty good. You know, honestly, I just really love painting skin. Recently, ever since I've tried this new painting technique that I've been doing, it's just felt super satisfying and super calming painting skin. It's just something about it, you know, it just feels really nice. And it's always the part that I like when I'm drawing characters. I think it's just the subtlety of all the different tones in the face and all the different planes of the face. It's just really fun to really capture that subtlety, you know? So it's been really fun doing that. Awesome. Do that little smirk. Okay, and now I'm going to go in. What is the color of her eyebrows actually? So it looks like they're just black. Alright. Pretty simple, pretty simple. So I'm gonna go with like a really dark, maybe like a purpley color. Shitgo Play says the power of the user is really depending on the variations of it, such as he can essentially negate or delete certain outside effects such as air resistance, inertia, and his own movement. Wow. Oh, so that's what you mean by information censoring. Okay. That is really interesting. I would really like to see how that unfolds. So, with those powers, would the mecha pilots be using those powers? Because that would be really interesting. I don't think I've really seen like super powered mechas. That's really cool. That's a really cool idea. And she has purple eyes. So cool. So I'll definitely be doing that. Put those purple eyes in there. She has like dark wine colored lips. And of course, if the face of the user is exposed for a split second, anyone seeing it will instantly have their memory wiped for a few seconds, kind of like flashbang with a side of dementia. Oh wow, that is pretty powerful. That's intense, to be honest, but that's really cool too. So the character is mostly seen with the helmet. Understandable, understandable. Wow, that is really cool though. That is really, really, really cool. I think I'm gonna get a darker shadow here. Since this side of the face is really dark. And it would be really dark. Good, and then there will be some darker shadows here. We get a sharper brush. Clearer value distinction. There, that looks good, that looks good. Okay, let me put in the eye color as well. Like the whites of the eye, make her feel a little bit more alive. Do like a highlight in her eye. Cool. Talking about highlights. Oh, let me actually do the brighter purple in her eye, since she does have pretty light purple eyes. Wow, very cool. Do a glint in that side too. Okay, let me get the highlight color. This is a pretty fun highlight color, actually. Wow, I already have a highlight color. What am I doing? Shipko Place also says, keep in mind that these abilities not only apply to the mech pilots, they also apply to the monsters. Oh, that's really, really cool. I really like the idea of monsters having superpowers. I have a really small little side project world that I'm also been thinking about, and it also has like monsters with powers in it too, which is just a fun idea to think about because it's not really seen. So it's like, I don't really think you have to worry about originality because you already have some pretty original ideas with what you're cooking up already, which is awesome. Give me 1 second. I just got a text message really quickly. Okay. All right. So wait, let me make sure that I did something else as well. Okay. All right, I'm back. There are a few others that I have in mind, such as the usage of true light concepts of every known fear, the concept of inheritance, coding, etc. I mean, that is really, really cool. It honestly sounds like you have some pretty great ideas locked up in there, stored up in your mind and your noggin. Right, there's like a really bright highlight here to the nose bridge. Let me define the nose bridge a little bit more. Awesome. Awesome. It's looking awesome. Wait, I did a little bit of mistake. There we go. That looks a lot better. Actually, I don't know if I like how that looks. Let's just stop overcomplicating it and just do that. That's literally how it looks like. There, that looks good. I was literally just overcomplicating it more than I had to. Do that. Shisco Play says, I was thinking of implementing these abilities not in the start of the story per se, but in a very specific way. Because in Armored Core 6, you could get 3 endings, but you have to play the game 3 times. You'd say for the third and last route of the story is where the powers are truly introduced. Oh, that's interesting. So that's really interesting. So at the end of the story, the powers are introduced? Wow. I feel like she needs a little bit more shading around her eye. It looks really small when I zoom out. There, that looks a lot better. Yeah. And I'll do like a highlight. Actually, I think I'll do a crease to show the form of the eyeball underneath. Yeah. And then I'll do the highlight. Awesome. Alright, this is looking cool. Alright, enough yapping about the powers and power system for my thingamabob. I should probably talk about the characters which I think are really interesting, or equally interesting. Yeah, I would love to hear about the characters you have planned up. Characters are my favorite thing, if you couldn't tell by the volume of character work that I've been doing. Good. Let me get an airbrush. Let me get a softer airbrush actually. The noise is a bit too much on that for the skin. There we go. That's a lot better. And then we go back to that hard pressured brush to keep the shapes nice and sharp. Let me use this same color here for the lips so that things feel nice and cohesive. Awesome, awesome. And I'll probably put like a little bit of a shine, a little bit of a clink on the lip. Boom. Like that. And a bit of gloss on the lips. Amazing. Spectacular. Show-stopping. Shift says, is it good or bad? Is it a good or a bad thing that a good majority of the monster characters in the story, beside the mech palettes, are so intelligent to the point of being human-like? I don't think so. I think that provides for a good story beat of like what is the line between monster and humanity and what defines humanity. I really think that'll be a really cool arc for the story and for the characters. I'm not saying that like maybe your monsters are like really like monster core, you know what I mean? But I feel like in media what defines humanity is the intelligence of humanity, but when a monster has the same intelligence, what defines a monster between a human? That sounds so deep. Like, bruh. But you know what I mean? I think that'll be a really, really interesting story to play with. Or theme to play with instead, yeah. Oh, let me actually do this instead. Oh my goodness. Full screen mode. This is pretty sick. Oh my gosh, it's like my full screen. This is crazy. Okay, let me put shadow on the edge here. This eye, I think I need to have of the actual eye coming out. Like that. Yeah, that looks better. Actually, that was too much eye. Okay. Awesome. Awesome, that looks good. Okay, let me get like a white. Should really get in some highlights here. Shift says something to know as well is that several certain monsters have augmentations, cybernetics basically, that not only enhance themselves physically but also allow for communications between others. That's really, really cool. I love that so much. I would love to see how that looks as well. I feel like that would look so, like, compelling. You know what I mean? There are a few exceptions where some don't need the augmentations at all. Oh wow. Yeah, so that's like really intelligent. That they have like a language that they can speak with. Oopsies. I accidentally chose the wrong brush. A bright eyebrow. Glossy eyelid. Glossy tear duct. Shiny nose. Oh, there's a little edge here that I don't want. think that's enough for the highlights. I think that last one that I did was a little bit too much, to be honest. I think I'll just go with it at a bit more of a subtler approach. It's a little bit too much. Yeah, that looks a lot better. It actually looks like it's shining. Okay, looking good, looking good. Do like a little... Ooh, awesome. Let me get a black color as well. Get into those nooks and crannies of the face. Fierce eyebrow. Shift says, I will say though, considering my project, it's pretty much an alternate universe of Armored Core 6 where the kaijus from Godzilla exist. So many, if not all, of the characters are heavily based off them. Honestly, that's how the best worlds start off. It really comes from that place of inspiration, you know what I mean? And it's important to create from a place of inspiration, because that means that it's really coming from a place where you care about it, and you care about the world, and you care about how it comes out, you know? So you should definitely not feel bad about having a world that is really inspired by those things, you know? Because honestly, it's pretty much a genre. Because a lot of things have like big mechs fighting monsters. Like Power Rangers has a big mech fighting a monster. Voltron, I think it's Voltron. I think that's how you pronounce it. I haven't said the word out loud in a long time. But it's like big mechs. So it's like, honestly, at this point, it's kind of a genre. So you don't really have to worry about it so much. Obviously, it's like to an extent, you know what I mean? Because if you're just like, you know, blatantly copying it off like Lordzilla, you know, but I don't think, because you have some really fun ideas that I've never heard of before, so I honestly think you're good, to be honest, Shift. I think you're really good. I don't think you have to worry at all. We do a outline of the lips. And outline the face. Alright, awesome. I'm actually pretty happy with how this face came out. It looks pretty good from far away too. Awesome, awesome. Let's use a screen tone brush. I've been using screen tone brushes recently to put in some fun textures. It's been really fun. Put some screen tones here. So you can see that there's a leg back there. Awesome. Pretty sick, pretty sick. Okay, the more I look at the hair, the more I like how it is coming out. And to be honest, I might just like cover up the hair here, like extend the hair more so that we don't even have to see that part. So let me erase it. It's quite unnecessary, honestly. If the hair is going to be covering so much of it, it's like we don't even have to see it. Let's get that black color, or that black shade. Cool, cool. Alrighty. And then the fire is gonna be like charging up. Like that. Oh, that's gonna look so sick, to be honest. Alright. Let's start shading this pot. Let's start shading that part. And let me get that shadow color I've been using. Let me create a selection. So it's nice and clean, as I was been saying. Oh, please. I want to include this part as well. Okay, I think after I shade this part of the skin, I'm gonna end the streamy, because we've gotten a lot of progress done, actually. A lot more than I thought we were gonna have. Let's add that shoulder definition. Looking good. maybe a little bit more confident with that line. Yeah, it looks good. And then let me get the smaller brush and start putting in those deeper shadows, like around here and stuff like that. Around the edges of the hair, because of that cast shadow that the hair would be making. And then over here, there's like some pretty deep shadows there. And I think that's pretty much it. And the rest is more of like highlights and stuff like that. Let me get that secondary deeper shadow color, so I can start putting in those darker definitions in there. And then I'll get that purple color here that I've been using for the really dark shadows. Yeah. Awesome. It's looking good. It's looking good. Okay, I think I'm ready to put in those highlights now. Shift says an example of, oh, I'm sorry, I think I missed the message. Shift says the only difference between the original kaijus and your version of them is their personalities and their designs and the way they fight. An example is there are essentially two Godzilla minus ones. One is what people think of Godzilla at a glance. From the design, he looks like a cat. The other is what Godzilla really is. Check the previous comment if you just saw the first one. I didn't know there was two Godzilla minus ones. Huh, I didn't know that. But how does your versions of them, like what do you mean by your personality? Like the personality of your kaijus, like how they act and stuff like that, because I would like to know what you mean by that. That sounds really interesting, like giving a monster a personality. So it really plays into that theme that I brought up earlier through like what you said of how, like, what kind of defines a monster if the monsters have the same level of intelligence as humans do, and they also have a personality. So that would be really, really cool to see play out. So what do you mean by having the kaiju's personality? What do you mean by that? What do you mean by that exactly? Actually, I think what would be better would to be use a hard round or a round brush. think that would be better to do the more pressure sensitive brush. Yeah, that does look better. And then let me do that part. And then let me get those brighter highlights. Okay, I'm actually quite liking how this part of the arm is turning out. I was a little worried that it would look a little flat, but I actually think it's turning out pretty good. Gradient this highlight out a little bit. And then Shift says not to say that I'm hating or anything, but I think you're more focused on the character than the hair. Not that that is a bad thing, but the title of the stream is literally learning how to paint hair. You're kind of right. You are right. I didn't really learn how to paint hair in this one. I did get really caught up on the actual character. You have a point there, to be honest. So let me start working on the hair. I'm gonna start putting in some more brighter highlights, just to help guide me a little bit. So I'm gonna start from here because I think this part would be catching some nice light from the light source and creating like a really nice strand of hair. And then I think that light would travel to like here. Like that. Oh yeah, that looks really good. I think that's really good. And then it would be like a line, like a highlight line going out through here. Oh, I'm sorry. Shift says the only difference between the original kaijus and your version of them are their personalities, their designs, and the way they fight. An example of this, oh, okay, that's what you were talking about, are essentially two Godzilla -1s, and what people think of Godzilla at a glance. From the design, he looks like a cat. The other is what Godzilla really is. Okay, I see what you mean. I see what you mean. So, how does that apply to the kaijus that you're doing? You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would like to see how you're transforming that idea into that inspiration, how you're transforming that inspiration into your world. Okay. I'm gonna have the hair coming down here. Actually, there would not be a highlight there. It would be here though, so I could keep this one in to help guide me a little bit. Yeah, that's better. That's a better swoop. That's a better movement. And then I'll get this darker color. I'll put it in here as the shadow of that hair strand. And then the shadow of this one as well, coming across the body. Since it's like over her shoulder. Let me select this, actually. And let me get a textured brush to maybe help me in the hair texture department. Actually, yeah, I like the lines better. And then I'll get my smoother brush. I'll come in and I'll add some harsher shadows. Okay, yeah. Oh, that's a pretty fun texture. I like that texture. Let me get the hair references out so I'm not getting lost in the sauce. Keeping with those larger lines. Actually, let me extend these lines. Oh. Since I already have them. And then I'll continue here. Ooh, I like that line. We'll continue downward. And then that hair would swoop like that. Yeah. Oh, I like those shapes a lot. I like them a lot. Okay. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get the lasso brush and select this area out so that I can separate the values a little bit more so the hair doesn't feel so flat. And I'm gonna get another textured brush, but I'm gonna see if I have like a hair texture here. I think it's these ones. Oh, that one's like a tire. That one's kind of like hair. Joseph says hair. Shift says, by the way, what do you think of stories that are more heavier in tone, like horror movies, gritty action movies, like the World War II films and stuff like that? Because the tone of my story is like that. I think they could be done really well if they're balanced, because sometimes when a story is too gritty, it kind of feels like, okay, you know what I mean? Like there's a lot of grit happening here. I do like darker tone stories. In my stories that I'm doing, I experiment with more darker tones because I feel like it helps anchor the plot a lot more. But I think there's definitely like a limit or a point where it gets too much, like I was saying, where it's just like anchoring a story and grounding a story feels really good when there's an aspect to it that is, out of this world. Like for you, for example, is like monsters and like power, like superpower systems, right? And mechs, like giant mechs. That has a lot of potential to be very explorative and very creative and very mystical, magical type of stuff. You know what I mean? So grounding and like adding heavier, darker tones to ground the story will feel really good with that. If you are balancing that grit with like lightheartedness in a way, like that mystical, magical. So there's like a breather room for every area, so it balances out. You know what I mean? So it's not so much of this and it's not so much of that. So I think when it's done really well, grit can add a lot of value to a story, because it's also what grounds the characters and what grounds the events of the story. But yeah, I think it's definitely, at least personally, in my opinion, you might not feel this way, but it's just something to watch out for, because I feel like there is such a thing as too much grit. But that is literally just my personal opinion. So, okay, I actually like how that looks. So I'm gonna do the same thing over here. Okay, and then I'll do the rest of that with a round brush. Okay, looking cool, looking cool. Awesome sauce, awesome sauce. And do this part really quick. Get that soft paint again. Oh wait, I lost it. Okay, it's fine. I got it back. Alright, put some definition there. And let me continue with these shadow shapes here, because they were pretty fun, to be honest. I think I'm gonna shorten that one. Yeah, that's good. Or actually, I think I'm gonna remove it completely. Okay. Shift said, like I said earlier, my project is based off the scenarios of Armored Core with Godzilla kaijus. And if you've never seen an Armored Core game, 90% of it will be pretty heavy in tone. The 10% is formula front. Oh, I've never played an Armored Core game, so I don't really know how that, world is and that storytelling is. So I can't really say much about that. Oh, that texture is really nice. feel like I kind of need to add a shadow here. Oopsies. Like a shadow throughout that part of the hair. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then I'll add it over to this side as well. Yeah, I like the sweeps. Oh, nice. Shift says, so my story, although it sounds a bit like fantasy or mythical with context from sources such as sources and such, it's going to be relatively more grounded. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, I totally get you. I totally hear and I totally understand what you're saying. I really like how shiny the hair is looking. Let me do like a little shadow shape. Okay, like that. Shadow shape. Ooh, that's fun. That's really fun, actually. I like that a lot. Let me support that. Okay, to be honest, this hair is coming out a lot better than I expected. And I like that. Let me add like a contrast between the highlight and the shadow so that it can stand out a little bit more. Okay. Let me get this color. Extend it to the root a little bit and then bring it back. Maybe I just oh yeah, that looks good. Removing that highlight there actually looks good. Okay, let me get in this full screen mode. Let me add a swoop. Oh my goodness. That looks amazing. That looks amazing. Let me add another one. Guys, that looks pretty cool. That looks pretty cool. Oh, I just completed it out a little bit. Awesome. Okay, I think I'm gonna make this into a shadow shape because there's some converging lines here. So I want to remove that as swiftly as I can. Christmas. Let's smooth out the top of the head. Oh, I can't because it's a clipping layer, lol. Shift says, random question. Is it normal to be debating on the gender of a character you're creating? Is it just me? I hope I'm not weird or thinking about that for 10 meters. Oh my, I'm sorry. I think I read the question like, random question. Is it normal to be debating on the gender of a character you're creating, or is it just me? I hope I'm not weird for thinking about that for 10-meter tall kaijus that can go at 300. That's pretty funny. I think, I mean for like me, most of the characters I create are like human or like close to human, like aliens that look like humans. So like I have a pretty clear idea if I want to make that character a female or a male. But for monsters, honestly, I don't know, because like monsters are like such a different breed, literally like such a different breed. So I really don't know what to say about that, because I know there are like, I think you can play around with some really cool themes, like how female animals look uglier than the male animals, and I think that would be a really fun like subversion of expectations for some of the kaijus that you have. Like maybe you can have the male kaijus. Like this is just an idea. You literally don't have to take this idea at all. But like maybe some male kaijus that you have can be like really colorful. And some female kaijus, like the female kaijus, can be very dull in color. And that can be a very fun way of distinguishing between the two genders. And that could be, you know, a better way for you to distinguish between the genders, because I think it is important if your kaijus multiply, like if, I don't know, maybe your kaijus like grow out of plants, like maybe your kaijus are made out of plants, or you can create a kaiju class that is made out of plants, and maybe that they don't have to have a gender because they just create from the ground, like they grow from the ground, so it wouldn't really make sense if the kaiju itself has a gender, right? So maybe there's like different types of kaijus that don't need a gender, but for those that reproduce like normal animals do, then it would be important to think about the gender, you know what I mean? But it's also not so important because you are just creating kaijus at the end of the day, and I don't think the normal person enjoying the stories you're telling is gonna be like, I wonder how these two reproduce, you know? I don't think that's gonna be a question that's going to go through their heads. So yeah, pretty funny. Let's get this cyan color and have some really nice highlighted lines. Yeah, looks good. Let's get that shadow extended so that it doesn't lose the shadow line or the shadow shape. This and extend this one over. This one will cut into the shadows really, really nicely. Yeah. as I predicted. Let me make this into a darker shadow shape. Oh my goodness. I've been streaming for quite a long while. Been streaming for a lot longer than I thought I was going to stream today. Okay, I think I'm gonna keep that part of the hair like really nice and simple. I'm gonna get this highlight and I'm gonna define this edge here so it's not so scribbly. I'm gonna make this into a bigger shadow shape. Okay, and then I'm gonna swing. I'm gonna really highlight that edge so it can contrast between the dark shadows, setting apart from the face. Create a little swoosh, a little swoosh. And create a little highlight between here. Shift says, I hope it's not too painful trying the hair with how much detail you're putting. For an artist like you, I don't usually put too much detail unless I'm feeling bored. I mean, honestly, I'm kind of just having fun with the hair at this point. I really like how sharp it is and how shiny it is. And I always love putting little details, as you can see with the face, how I got a little carried away. But I always love putting little details, like highlights in my piece. I find it super satisfying. Oof, like look at that. That highlight, it just adds so much oomph, so much power. It's like I'm here, you know what I mean? Like, look at me. I'm literally here, and you cannot ignore me. That's what that highlight is telling me. It's demanding your attention. And I just love adding stuff like that to my paintings. And then I'll add shape here. Highlight the shape. Yeah. And then I think I'll carry it downward as well. Let me do this. Swing. Oh. Let me move the canvas a little bit more. Swing, swing, swing. Ooh. Sick. Swing. 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 I feel like I'm rotating the canvas a lot, but low-key I am. Okay, let me just move on from that for a little while. And boom. Oh, so good. Ooh, and a little swirl to that to differentiate it from that highlight there. Pretty cool. Let's add in these. Just randomly add in the lace in these boots. Cool. I think I'm gonna leave it here for now. And I think I'll make a video about it, finishing it. Actually, I don't honestly like the swirl. I think it's just, it's weird. It's weird, to be honest. I'm not a fan. I am not a fan of the swirl. I think I'll just leave it like that. But yeah, I think I'll leave it here for now. And I don't know if you were here for the beginning of the stream. No. I don't know if you were here for the beginning of the stream, but this is actually a redraw of an old fan art piece that I did, which is this character. Look how crazy different it is. That is insane. I don't know when I did this, but then look at the comparison is insane. Honestly. But yeah, I think I'm gonna leave it here. I'm gonna leave the painting here. Thank you so much for tuning into this stream, and thank you, special thanks to Shift Go Plays. Thanks, because it was really interesting talking to you, and it was really interesting learning more about the project you're working on. So thanks again for tuning in and just watching me learn how to draw hair while also redrawing an old piece that I did. So I hope you enjoyed your time here, and I guess I'll see you all, or see you in the next one. So yeah, goodbye everybody, goodbye.